I want to share something that I read recently that stopped me in my tracks. I'm currently reading this book by Bridget Hilton and Joe Huff, and it's called Experiential Billionaire: Build a Life Rich in Experiences and Die with No Regrets. And in this book, they said this: For many people, complacency gets stronger as you get older and settle into long-term routines of work and family. You focus so hard on taking care of the business of life, which is not easy, that you stop exploring, learning, and making time for the things you just want to do. You tell yourself there will be more time for once in a lifetime later, when you graduate, when you start your career, when you get promoted, when you have more money, when you're less busy, when the kids are a little older, when you retire. But years go by and someday is no closer than it ever was. In the moments when you feel time passing, maybe on your birthday, on New Year's Eve, or in the quiet of a still night, that yearning for more hits you in the gut. Don't ignore it. You've been ignoring it your whole life and it never magically disappeared. Time to stop waiting around and do something about it now. That's it. That's the quote. And the part that really got me was this idea that we keep telling ourselves there'll be time for the once in a lifetime stuff later. When we graduate, when we start our career, when we get promoted, when we have more money, when things feel less busy, when we're older, so on and so forth, when we retire. But years go by and someday never gets any closer. It's always just one more milestone away, one more goalpost away, one more carrot to chase away. And I want to sit with that on this episode because I think this someday pattern is one of the most dangerous things happening to people who are stuck in corporate jobs dreaming about building something of their own. Because you're not just postponing a vacation, you're postponing your whole life. And today, I'm going to challenge you to stop doing just that. Let's get into it. So here's what I want y'all to understand. It's that someday isn't just a harmless little daydream. It's a coping mechanism. It's a story that we often tell ourselves so that we can keep tolerating a situation that isn't working for us without having to do anything about it. I mean, think about it. Every time you feel that pull towards something more, that restlessness feeling that hits you on your birthday or late at night when the house is quiet, you've been trained to soothe yourself with someday. Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll take that trip. Someday I'll finally do the thing that I've been talking about for years. And it works for a while because someday it gives you just enough hope to keep going without actually requiring you to change anything. It's like an emotional credit card. You feel better right now, but you're borrowing against a future that you have zero guarantee of. I've spent years in corporate doing this exact same thing. At Salesforce, at Google, I told myself that the stability was temporary, that I was building towards something, that I'd make my move when the timing was right, when I had saved enough, when the market was better, when I felt ready, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And y'all, I'm gonna be honest, the timing was never right. Like I never felt, ooh, this is the moment. I was never ready enough. The only thing that changed was that one day the pain of staying finally outweighed the fear of leaving. That's it. There was no perfect moment. There was just this moment where I chose to stop lying to myself about someday. And I feel like corporate environments are basically someday factories. The entire structure is really designed around delayed gratification. Work hard now, get promoted later. Hit your numbers this quarter, maybe you'll get that bonus. Put in your time, and eventually you'll have the title and the salary and the flexibility, so on and so forth. But notice how the goalposts always move. You get the promotion, and now it's about making it to the next level. You get the raise, and now you've adjusted your lifestyle so it doesn't feel like enough. You've been playing this game for 5, 10, 15 years, and the freedom you were working toward keeps getting pushed out farther and farther and farther. And here's where I'm going to say something that might be a little unorthodox. I feel like the retirement plan is the ultimate someday scam. Like the entire model says, give us the best decades of your energy, your creativity, your health, sacrifice now. And then when you're 65 or 67 or 70, you can finally start living. And I just think that's a terrible idea. That is a scam. And most people don't even realize they've agreed to it because it's just what everyone does. It's the default, but default isn't the same as right. And so I want to take a moment just to address folks who have that business idea or the dream and they're just kind of putting it off, right? For me, what it's saying is it's not about the business, it's actually about you. I feel like a lot of people think that the thing they're postponing is a business idea. Like if they could just figure out the right idea, they'd finally make their move. But that's not actually what's happening here. What you're postponing is the experience of being fully in tune and connected with yourself, of fully being alive, of doing something that scares you and doing it anyway, of waking up in the morning with that fire in your chest instead of that dread in your stomach. And Hilton and Hoff actually talk about this in this book. They describe this yearning for more that hits you in those quiet moments. And they say, don't ignore it because you've been ignoring it your whole life and it will never magically disappear, and nor has it up to this point. And I really love that framing because it takes the pressure off the what and puts it back on the when. Because you don't need to have the perfect business plan to stop postponing your life. You just need to start making decisions that move you toward who you actually want to be. Let me give you some examples of what postponing actually looks like in practice. It's not always dramatic, sometimes it's actually really subtle. So it's saying, I'll learn about building a website next quarter when you could spend 30 minutes this weekend just looking at templates. It's telling yourself you'll network when things slow down at work, even though things never slow down at work. It's waiting for permission from someone, anyone to tell you it's okay to want more because nobody is coming to give you that permission. No one is coming to save you. That's the part that's hard to hear. There's no someday fairy who's going to show up and says, okay, now you're ready, go ahead. You have to give yourself permission or it doesn't happen. You have to learn how to trust yourself again. You have to learn how to see yourself, how to believe in yourself again. And I need y'all to hear this part because waiting has a cost. Like, we talk a lot about the risk of starting something new, but we almost never talk about the risk of staying exactly where you are. Every year you wait, your energy shifts. Your risk tolerance goes down. Your financial obligations usually go up. You get more comfortable, which sounds nice, but comfort and complacency are basically cousins. They look similar, and one of them will steal your whole life while you're not even paying attention. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you or to startle you, but I'm saying it because I care about you living and enjoying this life to the best of your ability. If 2020 taught us anything, it's that we only have a short amount of time on this side of forever. And I want you to see clearly that the someday version of you who has it all figured out and is finally ready to make the leap, that person doesn't exist. There's only the you who's here right now, listening to this episode, feeling something stirring in your chest. That's the person who gets to decide. Okay, so hopefully I'm starting to convince you that someday is a scam. Now what? Now what do we do with this, Vivianne? And I want to give y'all something practical to work with. And I'm going to call it the honest timeline audit. And it's designed to help you see exactly where you've been postponing your life. And so here's how it works. I want you to grab a piece of paper or open a note tab, whatever works for you. And I want you to write down 3 columns. Column number 1 is labeled things I've been saying someday about. Column number 1 is saying things I've been saying someday about. And this is everything: the business idea, the move to a new city, the hobby you dropped, the trip you never took, the conversation you've been avoiding. I want you to write it all down under this column. Under column 2, we're going to call it how long I've been saying it. How long I've been saying it. And I want you to be honest. Some of these things have been on your someday list for 2 years, 5 years, a decade. But it's really important that you're being honest with yourself and you write down a real number. Column 3. I want you to label this column what actually needs to happen first. Again, column 3 is called what actually needs to happen first. Not what you've been telling yourself needs to happen, not I need to feel ready, or I need more money, or I need the kids to be older. But what actually, like specifically, like concretely needs to happen for you to take the very first step? Because most people get to column 3 and realize the answer is not much. The first step is almost never as big as you've made it in your head. That's the good news. Like, you don't need to quit your job tomorrow to start building something. You just need to register a domain. You just need to have one conversation. You need to block off 2 hours on a Saturday to think and dream and see what's possible. The gap between someday and today is usually about 30 minutes of actual work. That's it. One small movement, 30 minutes of thinking, dreaming, being intentional. The rest is just fear wearing a planning costume, right? And so once you've done the audit, I want you to try something else that I call the 72-hour rule. And in the 72-hour rule, what I want you to do is I want you to pick the item from column 1 that's been there the longest. The one that makes your stomach flip when you look at it. You already know. You already know which one without looking at this column. And I want you to take one concrete action toward it within the next 72 hours. Not the whole thing, just one step. Send one email, do one task, schedule one coffee chat, sign up for one class, order that one book. Just one thing that moves it from someday to started. Because started changes everything. Once you've taken one action, no matter how small, your brain has to recategorize that dream. It's not a someday anymore. It's a in progress. And in progress is a completely different energy than someday. In progress has momentum, but someday has dust on it. And so we're switching the paradigm here with these two activities. Because here's the bigger shift that I want y'all to make. I want you to stop treating your life like a waiting room for the life you actually want. Man, I want that for you. Like, I see this all the time with the people that I work with in my coaching and consulting work. With people who are stuck in corporate, they're just enduring. They're just getting through the week, living for Friday, counting down to vacation. And they've convinced themselves that this is just a sacrifice you make until you can finally do what you want. But what if there is no finally? What if the habit of postponing is so deeply ingrained that even when you do leave corporate, you keep doing it? Because I've seen that happen too. It's actually, I'm kind of seeing this right now. I was just seeing a research report about how, surprise, surprise, people who are using AI more are actually working more. But let's be honest, who thought that just because you're introducing AI to help you with your work, that you're all of a sudden going to develop a better relationship with your work? You're going to actually develop a rest ethic. You're actually going to reprioritize what matters, which is your health, your family, your relationships over capitalism. Who thought that just adding a little bit of tech would just rewire all that? Sorry, y'all. I'm getting off track. Let me get back to it. What if there is no finally? Like, what if the habit of postponing, again, is just so deeply ingrained that when you do leave corporate, you keep doing it? Because, again, I've seen it. People leave their jobs and then they postpone starting their business because now they need to, quote unquote, figure things out first. The someday just migrates to a new context, y'all. And this is what I mean when I say leaving your job is not a personality transplant. If you're someone who postpones and waits and puts things off until conditions are perfect, you're going to do that whether you're in a cubicle or working from your kitchen table or working at some office co-working space somewhere. The setting changes, but the pattern doesn't. So the work actually starts now. While you're still in corporate, while you're still figuring things out, you start by making small decisions that prove to yourself you don't need perfect conditions to take action. Cook a new recipe on a Tuesday night. Sign up for that workshop you've been bookmarked for 6 months. Have a real conversation with someone about what you actually want to build. I can even be that someone. I love having these conversations. Shoot me an email at hello@choosecourageinc.com. Say, hey, Viv, heard this episode. Would love to have a conversation with you about what I actually want to build. And I'll send you next steps on how we can schedule a call and just talk about it. But the point is to stop saying, I'll get to it, and to start getting to it. These feel small because they are small. And that's the point. You're not building the entire business in one day. You're just breaking the someday habit. You're teaching yourself that action doesn't require perfect circumstances. And once that habit shifts, everything else gets easier. One more thing I want to say before I wrap up is I think it's really important to remember that rest is an element of infrastructure to do this well. That rest isn't the opposite of action. Rest is what makes action sustainable. And I don't want y'all hearing this episode and thinking that you need to hustle 24/7, pick up some capitalism bros blueprint about how to grind, 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 and never stop moving. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying stop postponing the things that matter to you. Stop postponing the things that matter to you. But rest is one of those things that matters. So don't postpone that either. Don't sleep on that. In my business, I build in what I call rest and resist weeks. Rest and resist weeks. And these are the weeks where I intentionally step back, I recharge, I resist the urge to fill every moment with productivity. I actually have a rest and resist week coming up. It's the week of March 16th. And there's a couple things I do to prepare for my rest and resist weeks. I pre-plan a lot of stuff. I pre-schedule the podcast to be published. I pre-schedule LinkedIn posts. I have my autoresponder on. I pre-schedule emails that are being sent out. And then I fall off the face of the earth for a week. Personally, for me, like during rest and resist weeks, I need to be exposed to just creativity. I need like my mind to just rest and just turn off for a second. Sometimes that's staying at home and chilling and exploring the city, reading books. Other times it's traveling. So I know for this particular rest and resist week, I'm going to Mexico City and then I'm going to Lima, Peru with my partner. And we're going to eat our way through the city and I'm going to fall off the face of the earth and I can't wait. But it's so important. It's not about being lazy. It's not about okay, man, how can I be more productive? I'm doing this to be more productive. It's about how do I treat rest like the infrastructure it is instead of the reward that corporate told me it was supposed to be. That's what it's about. So if you need to rest right now, figure out how to make it happen and rest, but rest on purpose. Don't just rest because you're hiding from a decision because you want to put off something. There's a difference. And I think y'all will know in your gut which one you're doing. So let me leave y'all with this. The passage I read from Experiential Billionaire, which again, I'm really loving this book so far. It's also, I was telling my partner last night, I was like, I feel like this is a dangerous read. This is the kind of book that I feel like you read and it's going to cause you to completely recalibrate your life. But I'm reading it anyway, so I will let you know where I land. But the passage that I read from Experiential Billionaire that I read earlier to y'all, again, like it ends with something that I keep coming back to. They say, time to stop waiting around and do something about it now. Not tomorrow, not next quarter, not when things calm down, but now. Because someday has taken up space in your life for long enough. It's been a comfortable lie. And comfortable lies are the hardest ones to give up because they don't feel like lies. They feel like plans. They feel like responsibility. They feel like wisdom. But a plan without a date is just a wish. And a wish without action is just a really polite way of saying no to yourself. Aren't you tired of saying no to yourself? Aren't you tired of hearing no to yourself, to you? And so here's the assignment. I want you to do the honest timeline audit activity that I explained earlier this week. I want you to pick the thing that's been collecting dust the longest, and I want you to take one step toward it in the next 72 hours. Just one small step. And if that something is related to entrepreneurship, then you might appreciate joining the walkout. The walkout is a 2.5-day experience that I'm putting on from June 3rd to June 5th, where UX and tech professionals get access to this expert team, some tools, the mindset shifts that they need to build a business that genuinely inspires them and a life that feels good. And you'll be in good company. I'm bringing in an expert team of legal, financial, and health insurance professionals so that you feel supported with tactical guidance that usually costs thousands of dollars to receive, going to be bringing in 4 other entrepreneurs who left corporate and built businesses on their own terms. And you'll be among a curious community of folks who believe that there has to be more to life than enduring the corporate grind. Tickets are priced so that they're affordable. We're also giving away 20% of what we make to 2 nonprofits helping vulnerable children. So if that interests you, if you're curious about this experience, if you want to learn more, please head over to jointhewalkout.com to learn more and save your seat today. But just a friendly reminder before we close, you don't need to have it all figured out to start. You just need to stop waiting for a version of yourself that doesn't exist yet and trust the one who's already here. That's you. You're more ready than you think. You are more ready than you think. And the only thing standing between you and that first step is the lie that it's not time yet. But it's time. It's been time. Now go take that step. And of course, drink some water. Thanks for hanging out with us and diving into some of these real and unfiltered conversations. We know your time is valuable, and so we don't take it for granted. If today's episode made you think, if it challenged you, or gave you something new to consider, we'd love for you to hit that follow button on whatever streaming service you're using. That way, you'll never miss an episode when we drop them. And if you want to go even deeper, sign up for our newsletter at choosecourageinc.com, and you'll get updates on new episodes, access to exclusive freebies, and first dibs on coaching opportunities and other resources to help you make bold moves in your life and business. So we appreciate you, we see you, and we're rooting for you. Until next time, keep choosing courage over comfort, and a friendly reminder to drink some water.